Something really interesting happened yesterday, and most people are going to completely misunderstand it. CNBC just called XRP the hottest crypto of the year. Now, before you go rolling your eyes and think this is going to be about price targets and hype, it's not. Because the real reason XRP is moving has absolutely nothing to do with the headlines. It has everything to do with its infrastructure. I'm going to show you the clip here in just a second. Then we'll break down what CNBC didn't explain to you, including the same infrastructure trade that shows up in ETFs, enterprise treasury systems, and even the silver and copper debate. Yes, silver by popular demand has made it to the channel. And without further ado, I'm going to start with the clip. I see you guys hopping in the stream. I appreciate you guys. Keep the chat rolling. We're going to do questions and answers as I get through everything. But I'm going to lead with this clip today, okay? So let me go ahead and get this going for you guys. I'm not going to make you wait.
The hottest crypto trade of the year is not Bitcoin. It is not Ether. It is XRP, the coin formerly known as Ripple, soaring more than 20% this year, becoming the third largest cryptocurrency out there, and there's big money behind this trade. Mackenzie Sagalos joins us now with that XRP trade.
Now, I'm going to let you guys listen to the entire thing. A lot of people cut it at this point.
Well, it's actually been interesting is that during the doldrums of Q4, you actually saw a lot of people piling into those XRP ETFs, which is the exact opposite of what happens with the spot Bitcoin and Ether ETFs, where people really move in tandem with the price of the coin. But it was the fact that it is a way to have a higher percentage jump. So people were buying the dip with XRP in Q4, thinking this is a less crowded trade than Bitcoin or Ether. And then that proved out to be true just in the first 6 trading days of January.
We've also talked a lot about the blockchain.
Now, quickly, I'm just pausing it for a second here. They talked about it not being as crowded as Bitcoin and Ethereum. Important distinction. This is how the institutions think about this stuff, okay? So let's go ahead and hop into the rest of it. I'm not going to take up the whole thing with this, but I want to show you guys what no one else is showing you.
Chains and the ecosystems that are being built around many of these systems. We know kind of what they are with regard to Bitcoin. We certainly these days know what it is around Ethereum and Ether. What exactly is the big use case or driver? What's the practicality for XRP?
Well, with XRP and Solana, those are the two very popular altcoins right now where you're seeing a lot more interest. And with Solana, a lot of these different forms of tokenization. So we talk about tokenized dollars all the time in the context of stable coins. But now we're seeing a lot of people move into tokenizing money market funds. And Solana has become a blockchain use case for that. And XRP made its name in terms of cross-border payments. But what's been fascinating is even just this morning, Morgan Stanley, which has been especially progressive in terms of having their financial advisors suggest that clients get into the spot Bitcoin ETFs. They were the first bank to do that. They're now, just this morning, filing an S1 to launch their own Bitcoin and Solana ETFs because there is an appetite there.
So in the world where Bitcoin has become a bit mainstream, I'm not going to say the boomer, that's not my line. That's from somebody else. Is it possible that XRP and Solana are simply taking their place as kind of the next cool thing to know about? Or do they have a legitimately different and more relevant use case?
Well, in the context of just looking to make, an investment that has bigger gains, you're not going to get that from Bitcoin just because it's already so established. You're not seeing the same kind of percentage moves. But what's fascinating with Solana especially is just that it moves faster. And so you're able to tokenize these funds, move, whether it's a money market fund that you're moving along or some other tokenized asset. It just is more efficient than Bitcoin as a base blockchain, which is why you're seeing more use cases.
But that's also the reason why, right? Solana is the big thing right now because it is a faster transaction mechanism.
Cheaper transactions
and
too.
Ether is a cheaper transaction mechanism as well. We talk about stable coins if people have Coinbase wallets or Coinbase accounts. If they use the base network for now, many of those stable coins are transaction free. So the speed, is that what's driving a lot of this idea that cost and speed is going to be the defining factor for how people gravitate towards certain blockchains?
That's exactly it. And also with stablecoins, the Genius Act was passed into law last year, so we saw a lot more stablecoin issuers. But remember, it's not as though they only operate over one blockchain. You have different blockchains where you can move USDC.
Well, remember, they were just talking about the Genius Act being done next year, and we saw this ramp up in stablecoin activity, right? We don't have Clarity Act. We don't have a Clarity Act yet. So we're not seeing a ramp up in the actual utility tokens yet until we get clarity.
for example. And so Tron is another quick blockchain.
But at different costs, though,
at different price points. And so Solana is a lot more cost effective than moving money over the Ethereum blockchain at different points, which is why you're seeing people diversify away from the big two.
Times are changing. Do you think that? Do you sense, you talk to these people more than any of us, Mac, do you sense that times are changing or not? Is it just, in other words, are they looking for the next thing now that Bitcoin's been in a consolidation pattern, or are the real like long-term holders, the true believers sticking with it?
I think absolutely we're seeing times change. You've got Vlad Tenev over at Robinhood talking about tokenizing equities. Brian Armstrong, part of why the Coinbase trade is doing so well, Goldman Sachs upgrading that to a buy, has to do with the fact that they're diversifying away from just being a cryptocurrency exchange, and they're getting into ultimately they want to tokenize equities. For now, they're just offering equities trading, getting into prediction markets, which also has deep ties into the world of crypto. And so it is this evolution of the market, certainly.
Yeah.
At Corient, wealth management begins.
All right. So now that we're done with that, let me get out of the screen here. Back here. All right. So now that we're done with that, I wanted to play I thought it was important that you guys saw the entire clip, okay? Because someone pointed out, Martin pointed out in the chat, that they were really focusing on Solana in that clip. They started out talking about XRP, but they quickly moved off XRP and they were on to Solana. So again, careful when you're consuming content, right? People will mislead you, but nonetheless, we are still XRP as XRP holders. We are still being targeted with, and talked about on CNBC. Thing like XRP would not be discussed openly a year ago, period. Like no one would mention XRP other than in a negative light with the SEC lawsuit as far as mainstream media. So it's an important distinction. Yes, they pivoted to Solana very quickly, but it's an important distinction that they really, really are hammering XRP right now. And it's, again, the price moves not because of news, the price moves because of structure. So when we talk about price, let's go ahead and hop into price. And I see you all coming in the chat. I appreciate every single one of you. Keep the chat going. It's going to be a little bit more of an involved stream because I'm going to be talking about XRP, but I also want to talk about a couple more other important things. And we also have XRP news. We do actually have some XRP news today. Why? Price is going down. No, I'm joking. But whenever we get real news, it seems like when price is going down and then price pumps when nothing's happening. So let's go ahead and hop into our normal rundown. We're going to start with the price and the chart. So looking at the 1 hour chart, which is where we always start, we were talking about hitting 220 yesterday and holding it, and that we were going to come up and retest EMA 9 right around 229. That happened pretty much exactly. We crossed it, we closed above it, and then promptly came right back under it. So this opens us up to come back and retest 220. We lost 220. That is not a good thing, but I want to take this and point out, okay? So RSI has completely cooled off. We needed to clear this out after being in this overbought territory, but we're also looking, what we're using to verify a breakout, what we were talking about is the 1 week chart. So when we move to the 1 week chart, you see we flipped EMA 9 and pushed well through EMA 9 all the way up to 240. Now we've pulled back down and we are fighting to stay above EMA 9. If the 1 week, and that's right at the 215 mark. So really, really important that we hold 215. If we hold 215, that opens us up to these larger moves. If we hold 215 here, that means we have flipped EMA on the 1 week chart. And historically with XRP, that is what opens up to these large moves here. You can see. But again, we have to close above EMA. So a retest of 215-ish is going to be important. We'll know here within a couple days how we're looking. So that's what we're looking for to confirm the breakout. And then moving on, many people have asked me to start bringing in silver. So without further ado, let's look at silver today. Silver is up today. It had a pullback yesterday. Now, I want to talk about silver. I hold silver, I hold gold, I hold copper, I hold many assets, okay? I am part of the debasement theory, if you will, right? That cash is trash, fiat currency is being devalued, debt is taking over. So that's why I hold these things. I like to hold hard assets and deflationary assets, things that are involved in infrastructure. Silver is one of those things, both monetarily and for AI, semiconductors, tech, all of those things. It has both monetary and what's the infrastructure. It has both monetary and infrastructure use. That's why it does so well. A lot of people have been investing on it because it's been undervalued compared to gold. Not so much anymore. If you look at what's happened with silver, it's already hit a new all-time high at $83, and it's well outstretched. This is FOMO. When we have this kind of run up, this is not the best time to buy. Again, not financial advice. So this is not the best time to buy silver. If you want to get into precious metals, if you really want to get into precious metals right now, I think the best opportunity in metals is copper. Here's why I say I think it's the best opportunity. Yes, it recently hit an all-time high as well, but it is completely lagged behind gold and silver. And copper is based mainly solely, if you want to look at it all time, is based mainly solely on infrastructure. You can determine what's happening with copper by contracts, by what's being built out. And infrastructure is going to be key moving forward. We're talking about AI tech center builds, compute builds, right? Solar, new infrastructure grids, right? New energy grids. All of this stuff is going to require copper. If the United States is truly going to be the crypto and AI capital of the world, like we want to be, and we want to make a movement on energy, copper is going to be what's fueling all of that. So that's why I'm heavily invested in copper. And as I dollar cost average into precious metals, right now I'm investing, again, me, not financial advice, but I'm investing in copper as opposed to silver. Both are good trades. Both are fantastic trades, but it's about return on investment. And silver has a lot of FOMO right now. So if you guys want silver, I'll give you silver, but I'm going to tell you my opinion on silver. Again, let me know what you guys think in the chat. We're going to keep it going. Let's hop over to ETFs. So again, we're wanting to hold for XRP. We're wanting to hold the $2.15 level. If we hold 215, then that opens us up to a breakout. But again, we have to close above it for the week. So let's see what's going on with ETFs today. Franklin Templeton was at 128 million yesterday. Let's see if they have any change. They are currently at 131 million. So Franklin Templeton increased by 3 million. So that's a 3 million increase. Let's keep our head math going. So 3 million for Franklin Templeton. Grayscale was at 122. And they're at 127. So 5 million for Grayscale. We're now at 8 million updated today. Canary Capital was at 178 million. And they're at 179. So there's another million. So now we're up to 9 million for today. Bitwise was at 139 million down here. They're at 140 million, so another million. That puts us up to 10 million for the day. And then 139 million for 21 shares, and they're currently at, refresh, 130 million. So another 10 million added in. We had 18 million added in yesterday, and then we had 6 million the day before. So ETFs are consuming. XRP is being removed from circulating supply. Another 10 million today, 18 million yesterday. So that in 2 days, that's 28 million XRP removed from circulating supply and put into trust that we can physically see every single day when we track it. We also, for anyone who's new coming in, who hasn't seen my streams before, we check XRP scan almost daily. Anyone who holds XRP should have XRP scan bookmarked. This is how you can find what's happening on Ledger. So one of the things we've been talking about ad nauseum was account set activity, because account set activity is accounts coming online, permissions, onboarding, offboarding, on-ramps, off-ramps, all of those things. And over the last 2 months, we've had more account set activity in the history of the Ledger. I mean, if you look at this bottom line here, this is the entire history of the Ledger. So we've had more account set activity. We are wanting to see this translate to payments data. So as you can see, I mean, we're not up here yet, obviously, but we can see a ramp up in payments data. I want to see this continue. This isn't telling us anything yet, but we are starting to see a ramp up in payments data from Christmas to now. If this continues to ramp up, we should see it translate to price. So account sets translate to payment activity translates to price. That's how I'm tracking what's actually happening on the XRP ledger. My opinion, not financial advice. And also too, if you guys want to follow me on X, it's at Longview Crypto. I retweet everything. I post things. Was very active this morning because there was a lot of information going up there. But a lot of this information that I do put in streams or some of my research as I'm going through things, I retweet out as well. So you can follow me on Long View Crypto on X if you want to get that early. Fear and Greed Index still hanging around neutral. Not much happening today, having a slight pullback with XRP. We covered this. We already covered this video at the very, very beginning. CNBC calling XRP the hottest trade for 2026. Now for the news. Now, before we get into the news, remember, everything with a grain of salt, okay? Don't allow yourself to get overhyped. But we saw a price go up yesterday and the day before, this last week, essentially. We saw a price go up with no news, okay? Price going down, XRP news. It's how it always goes, I swear. It's like they do it on purpose. Like, oh, we're going to announce these big things when price is going down. G-Treasury acquires reconciliation and regulatory reporting platform Solvexia. This is bigger. This is bigger than people realize, especially when you factored in that JP Morgan just partnered with G-Treasury. And they're not saying Ripple, they're not saying XRP, but the larger these things, G-Treasury is what is supporting institutions, okay? The larger they build out this block, the more institutions they will be able to onboard and bring on to Ledger. Okay, so as the ledger builds out, that's going to bring more value onto the XRP ledger. We need value on ledger so we have things to pair XRP with. It's not going to be an immediate interaction in price. It's going to take time. G-Treasury will use the acquisition of Solvexia to provide customers with automated reconciliation across both digital asset and fiat payment gateways. They are bridging traditional finance with digital finance. Banking systems, ERPs, and internal records. G-Treasury has acquired Australian financial automation platform Solvexia to integrate automated reconciliation and regulatory reporting services into its flagship treasury management system. The financial terms of the acquisition have not been disclosed. So we don't know how much yet, but David Schwartz, right, the former CTO of Ripple, did make a post that Australia sounds nice and that he's got a lot more open time now. So he was hinting that he might be going to Australia for some reason. And he does this stuff all the time on X. You should follow David Schwartz on X. It's a lot of fun. Seriously. I mean, it's just entertainment, if nothing else. Excuse me. Solvexia is a software as a service platform that specializes in automating financial, tax, and compliant processing for the banking, life insurance, and travel sectors. The company processes around 1 billion transactions each month, according to its website, and claims to reduce human error by 98%. Ripple's not playing around. They are trying to take over everything. So, I mean, like JP Morgan's using Ripple now for G-Treasury. Like, they're working their ways in. I mean, XRP hasn't been at the center of this yet, but when XRP becomes a big part of this, I mean, you can see how this is getting built out behind the scenes. G-Treasury says it will be able to provide customers with automated reconciliation across both digital asset and payment gateways, banking systems, ERPs, and internal records as a result of the deal. So they're just streamlining their ability to on-ramp and off-ramp payments. Additionally, the acquisition will see G-Treasury embedded governments and regulatory reporting controls into the Treasury approval process, which will bring clarity to the approval process and transform the complex multi-jurisdictional submissions from weeks to hours, respectively. So they are transforming, again, working on transforming the entire banking system. Now, I wanted to bring up to you guys a little bit about copper, okay? Because I know copper is not sexy. I know a lot of people don't want to hear necessarily about copper. Right now, silver's the sexy thing. However, I definitely think everyone should educate themselves on copper. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a tidbit here. So I'm going to tell you guys the differences. And again, any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, opinions, let me know what you guys think in the chat. I'm going to hop into the chat and do a live Q&A, and then I'll come back and recap everything for anyone who came in late, if I could learn how to talk today. So silver and copper have both been used to store wealth for thousands of years, offering different properties, market conditions, and price histories. These two metals come with their own advantages and downsides. Collectors often come to us wanting to know the differences between copper and silver, Which is a better investment? The answer to the question depends on your personal preference, investment goals, and budget. While copper is more affordable and offers a wider range of industrial uses, silver's rarity and beauty may make it easier to buy and sell for a profit. Today's guide was, so basically, silver's in more demand because people think it's fancy and shiny, right? The monetary element of it, the rarity of it. Copper's more infrastructure based, okay? It has use case, it has contracts. People buy and use copper. And as we build out this AI and new power grid in the United States over the next 50 years, right? Copper is going to be in high demand. Remember, we think about what problems need to be solved so we can be there early, right? What infrastructure are we going to have to build out? We're going to be building out AI. We're going to be building out crypto. We're going to be changing the landscape, the digital landscape, right? That's why we're getting involved in crypto, but that's why we're also hedging with real hard assets that are going to be used in the real world, not just the digital world. And the cool thing about copper, silver, gold, these precious metals, they're also used to build out that infrastructure for that. So the best point, as far as, they're all great investments. They really are. They're all great investments. But the big part is which one's going to be the best return on investment. So when we're looking at copper versus silver, right? Silver is the sexy choice right now. It has a lot of FOMO. Price is sky high, right? If we look at it on the all-time over here, it's through the roof. Okay, this is not the best time to buy. Did we not just learn our lesson with XRP with the fear and greed index? Okay, now again, we dollar cost average over time. Could this go higher? Sure it can. Could it go lower? Certainly looks like it can, but what's going to happen? The point is to dollar cost average in over time. We can't pick the tops and bottoms, right? So I cycle through different things based on what they're each doing in the market. So right now, if I want to buy metals, I'm not buying silver. I'm buying copper, because if we look at the future base of copper, yes, it's also up at an all-time high, but it is not that large parabolic spike that we're seeing with silver that could easily give that all back. This is contract base. This is building base. This is, this is contract, this is builder. And again, none of this is financial advice. Do your own research, okay? But I mean, this is future, this is adoption, this is infrastructure. Whereas when I look at this chart, I see FOMO, I see hype, right? We don't want to buy at the top. So as I dollar cost average in and I'm looking at these charts, if I'm looking at silver and I'm looking at gold and I'm looking at all these different charts to try and determine what I'm going to do, right? I don't want to buy at the top of the biggest spike. I mean, that's just me. So if I'm looking at all this, I would be, going into copper. Again, my opinion, not financial advice, but you guys asked for my thoughts on silver. I do think it's a great investment, but if I'm buying precious metals right now, I'm putting it in copper, just based on the supply and demand element and what I think is going to happen over the next 10, 20, 30 years. Remember, I'm here for the long view. This channel is all about the long view approach. We're not going to get rich overnight. Investments are going to go like this, okay? You need a thesis of what you think it's going to be. What problem does it solve? Remember, the most money in this world is made by solving problems, okay? I can foresee a problem with copper. I can foresee a problem with silver. I can foresee a problem with financial infrastructure, right? That's why we're invested in XRP. That's how I look at this. I foresee a problem with fiat currency. I foresee a problem with loans and credit being an issue. That's why we get into assets, hard assets, cash flow assets, things that are going to appreciate as the dollar depreciates. So that is that. Let me get into the chat here, see what's going on here. Good afternoon to everybody. Appreciate you taking the time to be here. We got Brad Dixon in the house from Dallas. We got Raul in the house today. Stephen Haynes made it for a Wednesday. Appreciate you being here. Martin said they talk much more about XRP open about it now than a year ago. Yeah, they're absolutely talking a lot more about XRP than they were a year ago. I think it's funny though that a lot of the big talking heads are still calling the actual token Ripple, and it's not. I mean, originally it was, but it was changed to XRP. But yeah, they're still calling it Ripple. Some of them. It's funny how out of touch some of these big people are. Jabez said hello from the Netherlands. Martin said focusing on Solana now. It seems like the big wigs or the big talking heads are really starting to get behind Solana for sure. And again, we talk about following the money. If you hold Solana, great. I personally don't. I have it invested in other areas. But Solana is definitely getting a lot of hype right now from the mainstream media. There's no question about it. And it's getting an ETF from Morgan Stanley. So it's, again, I love XRP, but it's important to understand the entire crypto landscape, the entire macroeconomic landscape, so we put ourselves in the best position for the future. Again, my opinion, not financial advice. Nothing is ever financial advice. It's for entertainment and educational purposes only. Let's see here. Jabez said, hey, Luke, man, I'm not exactly sure. Or that wasn't Jabez. That was, at Martin. Hey, what's up, man? Okay, I got you. Just talking to each other in the chat. Appreciate it. Race fans in the house say he's going to hang out for a little bit. He says on track for a few laps. Farm Maximus says, good afternoon from Cardinal Nation, a.k.a. the Lou. Yes, I'm familiar with the Lou. Stephen Haynes said, what do you think will happen if we don't hold 215? So when I was talking about the XRP price today, let me pull up XRP so we can look at it. Get back to the 1 week chart. 1 week, there we go. It's all messed up. My chart's all messed up because I was looking at all-time charts and all that stuff. Here we go, 1 week. And we want to do 1 week interval so I can look at the right chart. There we go. All right. So if we do not hold 215, then we fall under this and it technically continues the downtrend for the 1 week chart. If that continues, then we have to test our lower resistances. That would be $2.12 and then $2 and then $1.75 again. So if we do not hold 215 and fall below 215, it does open us to come back to retest that $1.75 level again. We'll have to follow it as it goes, but I have a feeling it's going to retest this level a couple times. It's starting to turn up. But if it comes off and starts rounding down, you can see where it's going. It goes right back to this line and would double tap it and try again. So just something to keep an eye on, but you can understand how it will move. So if we do fall below 215, which we're on the rise right now, we're back up to 220. But if we do fall below that 215 area, it does open us up to fall all the way back down to $1.75 if we can't hold $2 after that. It goes in steps. We just have to follow the levels. But again, we're here for the long view, not what the price is today, tomorrow, but what it's going to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Hopefully that answers your question for you, Stephen. Farm Maximus said maybe time to reallocate some assets, put in a buy order at 210, still hold firm with my $3 XRP at the end of the month. I still hold firm with my $3 XRP at the end of the month too. I said I thought we were going to test that 290 to 320 area before the end of the month. It's still early. We have Trump's supposed to be talking today. We have data coming out on the 9th with the Fed. Supposedly they're going to be talking about clarity again on the 9th and the 15th of January. The potential DAT reclassification on the 15th of January. There's a lot of stuff that's about to happen in the next week or two. We're going to have to stay on top of it, but there's a lot of things that can adjust price daily. There is going to be some news that will affect it, especially clarity if we get some word on that in the next couple of weeks. Let's see here. Yeshua said, hello, everyone. If the dollar going to crash, do you recommend we buy assets before the dollar is worth nothing? Excuse me. Well, Yeshua, what you're talking about is the example of the debasement trade, and that's exactly why you buy hard assets. I practically have almost no cash. Pretty much everything I have is in crypto, real estate, precious metals, stocks, bonds. Cash is trash. The last 5 years, our dollar's been devalued by over 25%. Since 1913, since 1913, the value's been the dollar's been devalued by 99%. So, I mean, it's a matter of time, and that's why you're seeing these prices go astronomically higher, because a lot of people are concerned that the value of currency, fiat currency, not just the dollar, but everyone else's fiat currency, is starting to break. Our government, our country's debt to, Our country's debt to GOP is like 143%, right? We are way more in debt. We spend 43% more as a country than we produce. Okay. It's not a good thing. That's where this comes from. Again, my opinion, not financial advice, but that's why I'm diversified into hard assets and what I think will solve problems in the future. Hopefully that answers your question. Let's see here. Danny Rodriguez said, "Let's go New York Giants." Good luck to you. Good luck to you. My Chiefs had their first losing season in a decade. I'm not happy about it. Probably longer than a decade. Race fan said, "If you want to invest in silver and hold physical silver, purchase it." Okay. Yeah, there's all kinds of different places to purchase it. Now, remember, if you buy an ETF or something like that, you don't physically hold it. You hold a share representing the value of it. But you can get into ETFs for gold, silver, copper, and other metals, or you can look into different places to actually purchase and hold the physical metal, right? So where you have it at your house. Race fan says he's been buying silver since 2015. Okay. CMJH said hello from San Antonio. CMJ said hello from San Antonio. You went over it already, or I doubt you went over it already. Any news on supply numbers? I'm guessing you're asking what's in available supply. There's been rumors as far as 2 billion to 15 billion people getting their different information. As of right now, my math model is based on 5 billion in available circulating supply. I'm going to do a deep dive this week, honestly, and try and get a real firm number on what is actually sitting out there in exchanges and in circulating supply. But roughly, I've seen numbers anywhere between 2 billion all the way up to 15 billion. So I'll do some more research on that, but I don't have an accurate number for you, CMJH. Or CMGH for that matter. Kevin Hawthorne's in the house from Florida. Thank you for stopping by, Kevin. I appreciate you taking the time to be here. Jabez said, press the like button. Yeah, if you guys are in the house, hit the like button, hit subscribe, share it far and wide. I try to do my best to share the true information, not hype, not clickbait, and grow this thing out in a real way. So if you appreciate the non-hype, nonsensical, information, hit that like button. I appreciate it. It really helps, and watch the video. Abdul said symbol for a copper ETF. Okay. Let me see here. Not that one. We don't want that one. There we go. That's the one we want. Let's see. Copper ETF. So there you go. iShares Trust has one. There's several. You can go to any exchange and just type in copper ETF. You'll get several tickers that you can choose from, or you can go to an exchange and actually buy physical copper and hold it. It is a little bit more bulky than silver. I'll tell you that. Copper's a lot more bulky than silver. But you have your options right here for you. Hopefully that answers your question. And again, do your own research. Don't buy and sell things just because I'm talking about it. But I'm here to share with you guys what I do. You know what I'm saying? Sir Charles is in the house, flexing, waiting for that $8 XRP. Zorro said physical copper, it's insane, bro. You mean buy futures? You can buy physical copper and hold it. I mean, you need to have a warehouse. You know what I'm saying? But copper is, so a lot of people, believe it or not, there's people sitting on mounds and mounds and mounds and mounds of physical copper who have made a whole lot of money. But physical copper doesn't buy and sell and, move around as easily because it's not a monetary value item, whereas silver moves a little bit easier. Silver is a little bit more liquid than copper. Again, they both have pros and cons. Do your research. But no, I'm not advising everyone to sit and hold, a ton of physical copper. You know what I'm saying? Far Maximus Van Code states 85% of XRP are permanently locked in escrow. Early adopters lost wallets and institutions. That means there's 15 billion in real availability. I've seen this come out a lot. 15 billion in total availability. That's not what's on exchanges. I do think that's a realistic number as far as 15 to 20 billion that's actually floating around there that could be moved on to an exchange or moved into circulating. Well, I mean, it is in circulating supply, but I think there's like roughly 15 to 20 billion active XRP that's moving around. Not all of that's held on exchanges. Roughly 2 to 5 billion probably on exchanges, as far as what we know. But I think that's a good guesstimate of around 15 to 20 billion that's actually floating around in the total supply. But that doesn't mean people are going to move that to an exchange and sell it. You know what I mean? Farm Maximus said 2B in ETFs is the magic number for drastic price moves, in my opinion. Okay. Todd Masson, breaking news. Senator John Kennedy says crypto market structure clarity act legislation markup will happen next week. This is the first step before the bill is headed to the House on X. So there it is. Again, there's been lots and lots of talk about the Clarity Act being done this week. You're basically reporting you're basically reporting exactly what I said a little bit earlier, that I've seen things saying it was going to be done this week, next week. And that's why I think it's a coin flip that we have it done by the end of the month. For sure, I think it's safe to say it'll be done Q1. But again, we don't know until we know. A lot of stuff comes out, fake news, fake all kinds of things. Let's see here. That's why I try to give you guys everything with a grain of salt. Right? I saw this on X, but it hasn't happened yet. You know what I'm saying? Let's see here. Jabez says, you have copper and ETF or physical? I have the ETF. I'm not stacking physical copper because it's just too bulky. I have physical silver and gold in a safe. I don't buy platinum. It's just not worth the ROI. But I do have physical gold and silver in a safe. I have gold and silver ETFs, copper ETF, XRP, and then, of course, the technical things we talked about, AI, HBAR, Chainlink, Ondo, anything involved tokenization, infrastructure, things that I think solve problems in the future and that protect against deflation or inflation for that matter. Zoro says, how much beyond spot is realistic? How much beyond spot is realistic? $10 up spot, it's okay for, or a scam. What are you talking about, Zoro? How much beyond spot is realistic? $10 up spot. I'm not sure what you're asking, Zoro. Are you talking about how much beyond the current price of XRP is realistic? Bro, copper is insane. Used to buy $1,000 a kilo for spot price. I see. You're talking about copper. Yes, it's up now. Everything is up now. I'm not saying it's not up. It's doing very, very, very well. But what I'm saying now is that I think it's a better choice for me than silver, because silver is so pumped up and inflated right now. You can't deny that silver's on a FOMO run right now. Okay? They're both good investments. I'm saying don't buy at the top. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying if you want to buy metals right now, there's other options. I'm presenting other options to people other than just the hype that people are spewing about silver right now. That's all. I'm not saying silver is a bad investment. I hold silver. I'm just saying that there's other things, and buying at the top isn't necessarily the best option. Diversify. That's all. Raul says, I have some copper and silver. Wish I had more silver. Well, right now you wish you had more silver. But again, that's why we diversify. Todd Masson said he came in late. Okay. He said he came in late because I talked about the Clarity Act. I got you. Farm Maximus said huge supply of copper in abandoned houses, and the loose, sadly, just asked the copper thieves. So that's the point. So a lot of places, they will go to abandoned houses, abandoned buildings and stuff like that, and those will go strip all the copper out of it and melt it down. It does have value. That is something you can, if you're bored and you want something to do, go start scrapping copper. You can make money. Scrap metals. Metal. Oh, you're talking about silver. I got you. Okay. Let me find your question here, Zoro. How much beyond spot is realistic? $10 up from its current spot, or is it a scam? So you're saying how high do I think silver can go from its current spot is what you're asking. Well, let's look. Again, I'll do a quick technical analysis on it, but this is not financial advice. Okay. If I look at silver, because again, I buy these things for the long haul. We are way in overbought right now. And it's been in overbought territory since $41. Looking at this, the volume's good. but man, it might get up to $85, I think. But I mean, it's showing it's peaking out right now. It's starting to curve. So I'm thinking based on the volume, based on what it's showing, let's look at past levels here. I mean, there's no past level to really go back. This is the 1 week chart. There's no past level to really go back. So I would say I think it's going to pull back. And the reason I think it's going to pull back is because it's already stretched so far away from EMA and it's been in this overbought area for so long. It might come back up to 185, maybe. But if it doesn't, I expect it to start going this way. EMA is right about here. So if that were to curve, probably come back down to about $69, $70 and retest would be my guess, be the next move we see from silver. It might push up to 85, but I think it's going to come back and test around $70 or so. My opinion, not financial advice, but that's what I think will happen with silver just based on the quick technical analysis. Do you think HBAR has a huge use case? Absolutely, I do. Anything involved with tokenization and anything involved with the infrastructure, they have partnerships and adoption already happening with HBAR as well as ETFs and institutional interest. So yeah, HBAR is something I hold, and I do think it has a big use case with tokenization being a primary facet of our financial infrastructure moving forward over the next 5 to 10 years. Zorro says, sort my English. If the silver spot is 80, so in the shop, I gotcha. So in the shop, want 10 to 15. I see what you're saying. But yeah, so that's what I think is going to happen with silver. I've gone through the whole chat. Let me do a recap for everyone who came in late. If someone could let me know how many people are in the stream, keep the chat going and let's hop into a recap. So quick recap today. I will show you guys briefly the video that we covered earlier. Let's see. It's going to make me, let me turn off the volume and I'll just play it out so you guys don't have to sit with the ad, and then we will get into the recap. How about that? Let me get this pulled up here for you. Give it about another 5 seconds. I'm not going to make you guys watch the ad. You can look at my ugly face instead. How about that? All right. We want to replay, pause. All right, here we go. This was what we started with today, folks. Let me turn the volume up here for you.
The hottest crypto trade of the year is not Bitcoin. It is not Ether. It is XRP, the coin formerly known as Ripple, soaring more than 20% this year, becoming the third largest cryptocurrency out there, and there's big money behind this trade. Mackenzie Sagalos joins us now with that XRP trade and what, Mac, is driving all of this interest in XRP.
Well, what's actually been interesting is that during the doldrums of Q4, you actually saw a lot of people piling into those XRP ETFs, which is the exact opposite of what happens with the spot Bitcoin and Ether ETFs, where people really move in tandem with the price of the coin. But it was the fact that it is a way to have a higher percentage jump. So people were buying the dip with XRP in Q4, thinking this is a less crowded trade than Bitcoin or Ether. And then that proved out to be true just in the first 6 trading days of January.
We've also talked a lot about the blockchains and the ecosystems that are being built around many of these systems. We know kind of what they are with regard to Bitcoin. We certainly these days know what it is around Ethereum and Ether. What exactly is the big use case or driver? What's the practicality for XRP?
Well, with XRP and Solana, those are the 2 very popular altcoins right now where you're seeing a lot more interest. And with Solana, a lot of these different forms of tokenization. So we talk about tokenized dollars all the time in the context of stable coins. But now we're seeing a lot of people move into tokenizing money market funds. And Solana has become a blockchain use case for that. And XRP made its name in terms of cross-border payments. But what's been fascinating is even just this morning, Morgan Stanley, which has been especially progressive in terms of having their financial advisors suggest that clients get into the spot Bitcoin ETFs. They were the first bank to do that. They're now, just this morning, filing an S1 to launch their own Bitcoin and Solana ETFs because there is an appetite there.
So in the world where Bitcoin has become a bit mainstream, I'm not going to say the boomer, that's not my line. That's from somebody else. Is it possible that XRP and Solana are simply taking their place as kind of the next cool thing to know about? Or do they have a legitimately different and more relevant use case?
Well, in the context of just looking to make an investment that has bigger gains, you're not going to get that from Bitcoin just because it's already so established. You're not seeing the same kind of percentage moves. But what's fascinating with Solana especially is just that it moves faster. And so you're able to tokenize these funds, move, whether it's a money market fund that you're moving along or some other tokenized asset, it just is more efficient than Bitcoin as a base blockchain, which is why you're seeing more use cases.
But that's also the reason why, right? Solana is the big thing right now because it is a faster transaction mechanism.
Cheaper transactions
and
too.
Ether is a cheaper transaction mechanism as well. We talk about stable coins if people have Coinbase wallets or Coinbase accounts. If they use the base network, for now many of those stable coins are transaction free. So the speed, is that what's driving a lot of this idea that cost and speed is going to be the defining factor for how people gravitate towards certain blockchains?
That's exactly it. And also with stablecoins, the Genius Act was passed into law last year, so we saw a lot more stablecoin issuers. But remember, it's not as though they only operate over one blockchain. You have different blockchains where you can move USDC, for example. And so Tron is another quick blockchain.
But at different costs, though,
at
right?
different price points. And so Solana is a lot more cost effective than moving money over the Ethereum blockchain at different points, which is why you're seeing people diversify away from the big two.
Times are changing. Do you think that? Do you sense, you talk to these people more than any of us, Mac, do you sense the times are changing or not? Is it just, in other words, are they looking for the next thing now that Bitcoin's been in a consolidation pattern, or are the real long-term holders, the true believers, sticking with it?
I think absolutely we're seeing times change. You've got Vlad Tenev over at Robinhood talking about tokenizing equities. Brian Armstrong, part of why the Coinbase trade is doing so well, Goldman Sachs upgrading that to a buy, has to do with the fact that they're diversifying away from just being a cryptocurrency exchange, and they're getting into ultimately they want to tokenize equities. For now, they're just offering equities trading, getting into prediction markets, which also has deep ties into the world of crypto. And so it is this evolution of the market, certainly.
Yeah.
All right, so that is everything they were saying on CNBC. But without further ado, let's get into the rest of the recap. So we were talking about the price. Let me get to XRP. We were talking about the price of XRP in regards to what we can expect for the next leg of this since we've had the pullback. We have talked about the 2-week chart and crossing EMA 9 on the 2-week chart, and that we could see a retest of the 215-ish area. Right now on the 1-hour chart, if we want to look and get an idea of what to expect. Again, this is for context. We're here for the long view. We're here for what the price is going to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, not for what the price is today, but it's important to understand so we know what to look at. Currently price is at 219. We fell below 220. We are currently back on the downtrend. That's why I pointed out the 215 on the 1-week chart. Because we're on the fall here. We already lost our 220 support. But if we go to the 1-week chart, and the reason I pulled this out, because if you look at XRP, as far as how its breakouts go, when it flips EMA 9 on the 1-week chart, it historically has big moves. This is what I'm paying attention to. So again, we flipped all the way up to 240 and past the EMA 9, but we haven't closed over it for the week. We need to see this close above this blue line. If this closes above our blue line, that confirms a transition to a long-term bull trend. That's what we want. We want good bull trend. We want big bull trend, not bullshit, bull trend. Good things. So 215 is the number we need to pay attention to. If we fall below 215, then we can come back and retest $2 and $1.75. Again, none of this is financial advice, just my opinion. The overall crypto market is still doing very, very well for the week, but just about everyone is down for the last 24 hours. Again, total market sentiment, it moves in waves, it moves in structure. We know this. We went through all the ETFs from yesterday to today. We've taken in another 10 million in physical XRP locked into trust. I saw some people in the chat letting us know about the inflows are up today. The appetite continues, guys. It's not slowing down. We discussed our account set activity, that it has continued to stay elevated, and now we're starting to see, again, nothing major yet, but we are starting to see a rise in payments activity. I would like to see this rise in payments activity continue, because if this does continue on up here, then we will see this translate into price. My opinion. We covered X, right? You can follow me on X at Longview Crypto. This is where I retweet and post things as I go throughout the day before it gets to the video. We're still sitting at a neutral fear and greed index as of right now. No change there. Everything's just kind of choppy the last couple of days. Everyone's digesting what just happened over the last week. This is normal. Normal. Take a breath. We talked about the G-Treasury acquisition of Silvexia, Ripple growing out their stack even larger. And it's funny that G-Treasury is doing these acquisitions right after G-Treasury partnered with JP Morgan. Now, again, this doesn't mean instantaneous use of XRP, but the more they build out the stack, the more they build out the ledger, the more value comes on to the ledger that will later translate to XRP. We talked about the differences between copper and silver, right? Building and solving problems, focusing on infrastructure, focusing on what problems we're going to solve 20, 30 years down the road and how it can help us now. Again, my opinion, not financial advice. I believe both are excellent investments. Right now, I think silver is just overpriced. I don't want to buy it at the top. If I was going to buy a metal, I am buying copper right now. That's just me. I want to present you guys a different way. Basically, what this has started to turn into is when the hype narrative comes out and people are pushing the hype narrative, I try to simmer it, if that makes any kind of sense. Probably a terrible idea for growth on YouTube, but I like to try and add the right context for everyone so no one loses money. So hopefully that translates to you guys. Zoro said H-bar is king, that they love H-bar. I agree. I hold H-bar as well. I think it's a wonderful asset. Raul said there was 25 people in the stream and that he liked H-bar as well. He asked, what would be a good amount of silver to have? I mean, if we're asking for amounts, again, I don't do that kind of thing, but I would say, I can tell you what I do. Roughly 25% of my portfolio is metals, gold, silver, copper. About 25%. And then about 25% of it is, maybe about 35%. About 35% of it is crypto assets. And then about another 20% is, come on, brain, is my riskier investments. AI, alternative energy, those things. And then I also have my home, which is a large chunk of my what's the word? My brain is not working. That's what my is. My brain is not working. Silly stroke brain. A large chunk of my net worth is wrapped up in my real estate, in my home. My home is almost paid off. So I do have a lot of equity there that I could borrow against if I wanted to. So hopefully that answers your question. I go off percentages, not like a dollar amount, if you will. Everyone's dollar amount is different, but about 25% of my portfolio is in metals. How about that? Farm Maximus said 25.5 million of inflows today, no longer being dominated by Canary Capital. So yeah, the institutional demand for XRP is not slowing down. It doesn't matter what the price is. The institutions are still buying. We learned this last month, right? When we had nothing but inflows while price just kept falling. CNBC even just said it for you guys in the clip. They saw it, that the big institutions saw it as a buy the dip opportunity. Wish the rest of retail would have thought that way. Farm Maximus said net worth. Okay. Daniel, yeah, that was the word I was looking for, was net worth. Daniel says, what is your take on Wisdom Tree pulling the ETF out? I did see that actually, and I forgot I was going to talk to you guys about that today. I think it's curious. And I actually asked about it. The only reason I think that they would pull their ETF is that it's all about money. It's always about money. Follow the money. So if price is going up now, that means they have to front run their ETF. They haven't sold any shares of it yet. So now that price has gone up, they probably don't want to, build up their ETF trust, to be my guess. They're probably waiting to see what's going to happen with clarity. I bet you that's probably that would be my guess, because they didn't say they weren't going to do it. They were basically just hitting the pause button. You know what I'm saying? They said not at this time, not that they're not going to do it. So I'm guessing that a lot of these other major players are still waiting to see what happens with clarity, the Fed chair, CFTC. A lot of stuff is going to shake out this month. Truthfully, if I was them and I had the option to wait and do it now or wait till February and do it, or wait till, we get some more clarity, I'd probably do the same as them. I think we'll see another wave of ETFs come out later once clarity is established, and like the bigger ones, right? Like, BlackRock and all those guys. I think we might see more of those as we get clarity. My opinion, not financial advice. Daniel said saturated or fear of large player, possible BlackRock. I think, right now it could be saturated, but also you kind of just said possibly BlackRock. So, that kind of lines up with both things I just said, really. Both of those options line up with what I said. Far Maximus said they know BlackRock is coming. I do think we're going to get some bigger players in the market when we get clarity. My opinion. Could be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking. Martin said, is there a way to see how much XRP is still on the exchanges? Glassnode.com is the best one I have found. And last I checked, it was about 2.16 billion on exchanges. But Glassnode is typically where I check for that information if you want to look at it, Martin. Miss Winnie said the price will go down for more ETF buying. It's just all market structure. There's different levels. The people who buy and sell and day trade, you have to remember there's people who day trade with millions of dollars for these large institutions, right? So they don't care. They're just trying to make money today. That's why it's so choppy all the time. Again, my opinion, not financial advice. Miss Winnie said Trump is affecting the crypto market today. We'll see. There is rumor that Trump's going to be talking at 2:30 today, so in about 30 minutes, to sign some kind of major executive order in regards to crypto. I have no clue what the heck they're talking about. I saw those posts. I looked. I can't find anything. But I have no clue what they're talking about. So hopefully it's good news. One would think it might be good news, but really, truthfully, I have no clue what he's about to talk about or what it's going to do to the market. I wish I could. I'll probably come on here later and do another one if it's major news. If it's, a lot of times this happens, it's nothing. But again, remember, know what you hold. We're in this for the long haul, right? Just because Trump comes out and farts in the wind and people don't like the way it smells and the market drops, okay, it does not change what XRP's fundamentals are. It does not change what XRP is. It does not change that copper is going to be needed to build out the AI infrastructure of the future, right? Or cloud-based computing infrastructure, right? All of these things are going to be needed. Think of the problems we're trying to solve. Know what you hold, okay? I will be back tomorrow at noon. Wait, tomorrow's Wednesday. Is tomorrow Wednesday? What is today? What is today? Today's Wednesday. I will not be back tomorrow at noon. Correction, Thursday. I will be doing a Thursday night special, 7 p.m. We're going to cover the entire long view Thursday night. So if you guys want to hang out with me Thursday night and get a full idea of who I am and what I'm doing here, go ahead and hop on Thursday night. I'll be here at 7 p.m. Until then, I'll see you guys later.